Hi there folks, welcome to RRTV's live coverage of the ANZCAR Xfinity series, coming to you live from Rockingham, or the Rock, and I'd like to welcome my commentary team tonight. It is Steve Hoppett and Ryan Shelton. Welcome, guys.
Yeah, good day. How are you, Bertie? Good day to Ryan as well.
Going on, guys?
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely awesome, the racing here tonight, folks. We've been watching practice, and you might have seen Mr. Hoppett there. You put up a thing pretty much talking about how much trouble these guys are having, and I'd have to agree with you. It's been quite eventful in this practice, and but before we get into all that, we've got the trucks to talk about.
Yeah, exactly, Bernie. Monday night, the ANZCAR Monday Night Truck Series took place, and we've got a highlights package here that you're going to run for us.
Yeah, so we had Edward Foster do the commentary on this, so we're going to go over and have a look at just exactly what happened in that truck race last Monday and who took the podium. So without further delay, let's go over and check that out.
The ANZCAR Truck Series this week, coming to you from Rockingham. You can see here, great start there from Matt Danson, who took the pole, being followed by Mike Brown in the number 11 truck. Tim Dawes there, following through, just hanging on to the back of the lead pack there. Brown was very, very quick early and gave Danson a very hard time in the early laps. Jonathan Mose was hit a bit of trouble early on. And spent a lengthy time in the pits as a result of that incident there. You can also see Maxfield and Jason Nicholas coming together there, also involving Dawes and eventually involving Danson as well, starting what would be the first of many comeback tries for him throughout the race, dropping to the back of the field with some repairs there. They all did manage to get back on track, however, and Tim Dawes managed to get himself fixed up, and Matt Danson following him along back up through the field. And you can see there that Jason Nicholas also managed to get out. You see him there battling with Dwayne Preece, who had a solid run. Danson again getting involved with Mirko Doutnak there. It was a bit of a messy night for him, and Dwayne Preece, one of many to rub the wall, and unfortunately tagged the 91 Darren Brumfield there as well, but they both were able to resume, as you can see here. Butler was able to pressure Mike Brown up there in the lead early on, and he stayed running in the top three throughout the evening. Mike Brown did manage to hold on to a lead through most of the event, however, but he did find challenges coming from just about everywhere. You see Maxfield here having another little moment there. Very difficult track, Rockingham, a lot of bumps, and very difficult to stay off that outside wall. So unsurprisingly, we did see a few guys tagging that wall and getting loose, and unfortunately in a couple of cases some other trucks got involved with them, but in this case here you just see him spinning quite harmlessly down to the bottom. Mirko Doutnak was able to continue as Matt Danson continued with his recovery drive, just rounding up Scott Butler there, and he proceeded to go forward and again put some pressure upon Mike Brown, who built quite a nice lead out by this point. Jonathan Mose making contact with the wall for a second time. I think much more severe damage sustained this time than in the first one, and when the pace car finally went in, it was Mike Brown getting the jump again from Butler, and you saw Tim Dawes and Matt Danson dropping to the rear, being the only ones in the field to actually take tyres. That would pay off for the pair of them later on in the event. Scott Butler there just making his way past some lap traffic, trying to keep the pressure on Mike Brown, who once again was able to resume a lead. And you can see Matt Danson working his way back through the field here on those fresh tyres, just trying to catch up with the leaders, being him and Tim Dawes being the only two on those fresh rubber. You see there Nicholas Shiles just having a bit of a rough ending to his race, as he's clattered the wall and actually damaged his engine quite substantially there as well. Butler and Brown did have a little bit of a race on there at the last restart, with Matt Danson following through, Danson carrying those fresh tyres and plenty of pace, just pressuring Butler there as Mike Brown makes the most of it, gets out to a lead. As you can see, Danson did manage to clear Butler and was putting a fair amount of pressure on that number 11 Silverado as the race came to a close, but Mike Brown did hold on for a well-deserved victory, with Matt Danson recovering to second and Scott Butler taking third, obviously last week's winner. He's having a very consistent start to the season, so I think all three of those guys will be very pleased with their performance. That's it from the second round of the ANZCAR Truck Series. We will see you next week.
So there you go, folks. That was the highlights of last Monday night's race of the trucks here at Rockingham, and having a look at the latest points after that round. Scott Butler, he basically came in third on the night, but he has taken the lead on 90 points. Matt finished in second on Monday night. He's got 86 points, and he sits in second. Then we've got Todd Maxfield, on 79 points, third. Tim Dawes is sitting in fourth on 75, while he's equal force with Jonathan Mowis, who's also on 75. Sitting sixth is Mirko Dortanak. Then we have Nicholas Walsh in seventh, eighth Juan Priest, ninth is Jason Nicholas, and 10th is Mike Brown. And Mike actually won that race there on Monday night, Steve?
Yes, actually. Yeah, I believe he did on Monday night, and the guys coming in third. Look, anybody who finished that race on Monday night, as you can see in the highlights package, this track bites, and it will bite you very hard. There's a couple in the series that will do that, and on the NASCAR circuit in general. This appears to be a track that will bite you if you push it too hard, disrespect it just a little bit. But the trucks, they definitely had a big battle. But look, full points to the guys who finished the race because they just kept plugging away. Pit, fix it, go out. Pit, fix it, go out. And it was great to see that most of, if not all, the field finished that race on Monday night. So it's a great series. I just wish I'd actually been there Monday, but had other commitments. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there, as you can see in the video, and lost the chance to pick up some points in the round, Bernie.
Yeah, well, one thing I'm taking away from Monday night, which we've seen here again tonight in practice, folks, the bumps out here are playing havoc with some of these drivers that are really trying to push the limit. And I'd expect a couple of things here, Ryan. One, outside wall's going to be hit, inside wall's going to be hit, and I'm expecting safety cars here tonight on the 150 lap feature race.
Yeah, the biggest thing is turn two. Turn two has been a nightmare since this track was started way back in the day. It tightens up so much, turn two, and with all this banking that the track has in it, it gives you this false sense of hope that you can actually go faster than you can. Turn two, as soon as you come off of it, it tightens up and you'll hit that wall, especially with that safer barrier they installed about 15 years back. They installed that safer barrier there on the outside, and you hit it, you'll go into the inside wall in the backstretch, and that causes massive crashes because that's a very, very tight part of this track. It's a very fast part of this track too. I do expect a lot of safety cars to be out there, and I expect a lot of cautions to come out of turn two.
Well, from what I saw also Tuesday night, the K&N series ran at this track, and they had similar issues, I believe. So it's just going to be one of those action-packed nights, Bernie. I hope your fingers are flexible and ready to go on those replays.
Yeah, I'll definitely do my best. But, folks, we're going to go to a quick commercial break now. We're going to be back in a minute or so for the countdown of the Xfinity Series race at Rockingham. Welcome back, folks, and welcome to round 2 of the ANZCAR Xfinity series, coming to you live from Rockingham. Your commentary team tonight is myself, Bernie Weemers, Ryan Shelton, and Steve Hoppett. Nearly forgot your name, Steve.
Yeah, I know, I'm easy to forget.
Yeah, mate. So coming into this round, it's quite interesting. Well, let's bring up and have a look at the point score as it stands. So Danny G, he's leading on 48 points. Darren McKenzie's not too far behind him on 42. Phil Otto third on 41 points. And we've got Stephen Sandman Clark on 40 in fourth. Now keep an eye on him tonight, folks. He's one of the fastest ones out there. But as we were saying in the earlier before the break, speed is not going to necessarily give you the win here tonight. Fifth, Dave Douglas on 39 points. Matt Clowett, he's sitting in sixth on 39. Then we've got Jake Blackhall, equal seventh with Craig Lawless, both on 37 points. Terry Marwood in ninth on 35. And Norman Clark, keep an eye on him tonight as well. He's in 10th on 34 points. So I'll tell you what, Steve, I was saying just then that speed may not necessarily give you the win here tonight, and going from what we've seen in practice, what we saw in the trucks Monday night, you know, we could be onto something.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Bernie. It's going to be consistency that gets you across the line at the pointy end of the field tonight. As we've already made pretty clear, this track will bite you. If you don't respect it and you don't respect the racing room of the other cars, and maybe you might, a little bit of a rush of blood, you might push the envelope just a little bit much. These cars will come around. They will hit the wall. They will go across the track. We've seen it in practice tonight. Sat watching them for an hour or so, hour and a half, and guys that I wouldn't have expected to have as much trouble with this track certainly are. So, you know, that's the way it goes. But we're going to be going to qualifying shortly, Bernie. So, Ryan, what are your thoughts on the way tonight's probably going to go?
It's my personal opinion. I think it's going to be a really good race. Normally, the Rockingham puts on a really, really good race. They tend to be kind of a wreck fest most of the time. But then you'll have the very end of it, which will end up normally being a really good race at the end. That will include normally a very, very close finish and sometimes a late race pass for the lead. The very last race that was actually raced here for the NASCAR Monster Cup, now known as Monster Cup, then was the Winston Cup series. The very last race came down to, it was about a foot or so, the finish of the race. Matt Kenseth beat out Casey Kane in what was probably one of the best races that this track ever produced. And it was an epic finish, and it was a great way to send off this track. But yeah, they normally come down to very, very late race cautions that bunch the field up, and it's just absolute mayhem from there.
Well, it's an older surface as well. I'm really not sure of when the last time this track was resurfaced, but it's an older surface. So, of course, that will also make a big difference. I mean, coming off Daytona last week, and we said at the end of that round last Thursday that it was going to be a very different kettle of fish this week, and I think practice has already shown that that's the case. The guys are out there and they're qualifying at the moment. So far, we've got Kai Sloggett, who's sitting up the right end of the field with a 24.2. Matt Clowett behind him with a 24.28. He's about 500ths behind. Jake Maloney on a 24.35. Darren Lords just slipped in a 24.9, and Craig Lawless with a 24.9. So I wouldn't say that they're particularly close. It's only those front couple. Stephen Clark's now jumped up with a 24.2 as well. So positions jumping around all over the place, Ryan.
Yeah, early qualifying is normally just everybody just try to get out there, just try to throw down a lap. It does look like you get 2 laps. So the old school style of qualifying that we had here for most of NASCAR history up until recently. We changed it more to an F1 style knockout. But so it looks like we have about 20-ish cars that are going to take the grid, and you'll start to see they'll start to bunch up a lot more as you get more guys in there. And a lot of guys tend to wait until the last second, so they don't just draw their hand quickly to give guys a benchmark to go at. You see guys like Jason Martin, Kyle Sloggett, Stephen Clark, who were top of the charts during qualifying. They've all gone out there. Some of the guys who are missing from the top of those charts that we see here, we got Riley Curtis, Darren McKenzie, those kind of guys. They haven't gone out there and gone out just yet, but we will see those names here soon.
Well, strangely enough, I was just keeping a bit of an eye on Josh Mickelmore there, and he actually pulled off to the infield and sat there for a few seconds and then went back on track to do qualifying laps. Not quite sure what the deal was with that. That was a little bit strange.
I may have had some kind of issue with this car. Not sure. It does look like he just tagged the turn 2 wall on his first lap. So that's that's what we're going to see a lot of tonight. Josh Mickelmore, a guy that we know for sure is a great driver in these cars. He showed that during the Truck Series last season. He's one of the top guys, one of the guys we need to watch out for tonight. But even he has trouble getting off turn 2, as we just saw in his first qualifying lap.
Yeah, we're seeing a bit of that going on tonight. A few guys are aborting their first lap. We just saw Dave Douglas on the screen at the moment. He's completed his first lap. He's only managed 10th fastest, and we'll see what he can do on this second lap, guys.
Yeah, look, it looks like, from what they've experienced in practice, they may be happy to just get in the best time they can without trying to set the world on fire. And yeah, of course, I mean, you hit the wall and you've done your lap and that's it. So you won't get a time anyway. So, it may be a case of a lot of them just simply trying to get the best time they can without risking not getting a time at all and having the lap nullified. So that could be all it is. I think this is going to be, we're going to see some big names starting towards the rear of the field, I think, tonight.
Yeah, so this is pretty interesting. Of the top, let's see, 7 guys, only Stephen Clark was the one who dropped in qualifying time. So it looks like they may have some sort of qualifying trim that these guys are running on. Some of these guys may have worked on that throughout the week they had to practice. But Jason Martin is currently on top of the 23.956. That is the first 23-second lap that we've had all night throughout practice and qualifying. So good on him. He's going to start pole. I don't see the guys who are left. We still have Darren McKenzie, Norman Clark, and Darren O'Brien. I'm not sure if they're going to go. They hadn't even gone out on track just yet, so I'm not sure if they're wanting to go, as we see Darren O'Brien just pull off for his first lap. So we'll see if he can't break into that first spot.
Yeah, no, look, that time by Jason Martin, that's just red hot. Certainly not what I was expecting. As you said, it's the only sub-24 lap that we've seen in practice and qual. So, yeah, that's opposite to what I expected. I mean, I was just got through saying it looked like the guys were going to sort of play it safe and not really go, backs to the wall sort of stuff, which is not the expression I was going to use. But, look, he's gone that quick, and that really sort of indicates how happy he is with the car and the way the car's handling this track. And he's obviously found a good, clear, clean line to get that sort of a lap time. It'll be interesting to see how he can actually maintain that sort of speed in the car in a pack under race conditions.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some really good racing. What I really hope happens for some of these guys, I really hope that they just kind of feel it out. They understand it's a 150-mile race, and there's about 21 cars we have in here, so we have 21 entries tonight. And with 150 laps, if we have one accident down that backstretch of the front cars, it's going to take out a few of these guys. So I just really hope that these guys kind of take it easy for the first couple of laps. Just kind of feel it out. I know they've had a lot of practice, a lot of qualifying, but Rockingham will bite. Rockingham is similar to Laguna Seca, as in you take the corner, you're like, oh, I can go just a little bit faster. You get that false sense of confidence in you that you can go just a little bit faster, and then you end up in the wall. And that's the same thing with Laguna Seca. The same thing we see here is that you'll end up in that wall. You'll end up tearing up that right front tire, as we see a lot here.
Oh yeah, it's going to be an interesting race if nothing else. Not really sure what's happened with Darren McKenzie and Norman Clark. They may be satisfied to start at the back and see how it pans out. Perhaps play the long game. It is, as you said, it's 150 miles, so being a 1 mile track, we've got 150 laps in front of us. It's a long way to go, and they may be quite happy to just start from there and see how they go, knowing how hard this track will actually fight back. They may very well be gambling on the fact that there'll be a few people come to grief and that they can take advantage of those opportunities.
Yeah. So we've got Norman Clark here. He actually did put down a lap. He's got a 25-1. It's a little bit slower than his practice lap, but I imagine he's just trying to get a lap down just to kind of get out there and have the track to himself. Having this single practice on the track really helps out, as he does go a little bit faster, but he will not improve his time. He'll stay at a 25-1-1.
Yeah, no, there you go. He's obviously waited till the very last minute to come out after we started to talk about that very thing and decided to put his laps in. But once again, I got a feeling that Norman was playing it safe with that. And, he'll be quite happy just to start from where he's going to start. Yeah,
I think it's going to be a... Norman Clark's team seems to be very safe in how he drives. We saw that last year in the Truck Series at the Las Vegas race. He didn't really get into anybody's way. He wasn't really the fastest guy out there, but he just kind of stayed out of trouble and got a top 5. And he played the fuel game really, really well too. So it really helped him out also. So I think we'll see Norman Clark not finish 20th position. We'll probably see him move up through the field a little bit. He's a very good racer. He's much better racer than he is a qualifier.
Oh, absolutely. And it wouldn't surprise me to see Norman finish right up the pointy end tonight when it's all said and done and the dust has settled as the cars begin to grid up now. We're going to go for a start very shortly.
Absolutely. And so we'll start from the top. Jason Martin will take pole position, and starting beside him will be Josh McLemore. So the first row is full of talent there, and it's not going to get much less from there. You got Kyle Sloggett starting in the 3rd position, Edward Foster in the 4th position, Stephen Clark 5th, Riley Curtis 6th, Matthew Clowett will be in 7th position, Jake Blackhall in 8th. He's bound to move up from that position. I'm sure he's not very happy with his qualifying. Thomas Haynes will start out in the 9th position. Rounding out our top 10 will be James Zeitz. Jake Maloney will start in 11th. Dave Douglas will be in 12th. Daniel Stevens, 13th. Darren Martin, 14th. On to our 8th row, we'll have Terry Marwood on the inside, Darren Lord on the outside. And we'll have Craig Lawless, 17th. Steve Williams, 18th. And we'll have Roger Clark and Norman Clark. And then rounding out our 21-car field will be Darren McKenzie on the 11th row by himself.
That's not a bad field at all, Ryan. The guys at the front certainly deserve to be there, but you can see scattered through the field there are guys who are going to make their presence felt, especially in the probably after about lap 8 or 10, you'll start to see the front of the field change around a bit, I think. Just hopefully it won't cause too many issues and get some good green flag racing going.
Yeah, I think you'll definitely see 2 races happen. What you'll see is the front half of this race where the track is currently, and then you'll see the track change. So the track is going to change over the race. The track is not where it will be at the final part of this race. I think the groove will move up a little bit higher in turns 1 and 2, but I think 3 and 4 you'll see everybody run down towards the bottom. So be watching out for that as the pace car peels off here, and we will be going green here very, very shortly. And Jason Martin has control of the field, and he goes early, and he will have a huge lead going into turn 1. Everybody just kind of spreads out, gives everybody just a little bit of room, and it looks like we're going to have a good time through here as Kyle Sloggett just gets around the 53 of Edward Foster, and you'll see Stephen Clark try to make a move early in the race into turn 3. Doesn't seem to make it, and everybody's sort of single file, which is what we expected here in the early race. Just kind of get everybody just log some laps, get some time in the seat, get some time around some other drivers. We got 2 wide a little bit further back as Darren O'Brien decides to pass Dave Douglas. A little bit further back, we have Terry Marwood on Daniel Stevens. So we do have a little bit of positions moving, but right now I think everybody's just kind of steady as we do have Kyle Sloggett and Steve Clark trying to battle it out.
Yeah, look, I'm very surprised at the gap that the 2 leaders, Jason Martin and Josh Micklemore, seem to have put on third place backwards. There's just a noticeable gap there, visual gap between first and second and back to third and fourth. And then there appears to be another gap opening behind the Sandman in fourth place in car 96, going back to Edward Foster, or Jake Blackhall now has taken Edward Foster.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with tires. I think a lot of these guys think that this run might actually go pretty long. And this track does eat that right front tire. If you start to eat that right front tire, the car will start to understeer on you. Which means that you're turning the wheel and the car doesn't want to turn. That's one of the worst things you can have in oval racing, and it's not a good feeling, especially with that turn 2 wall coming up so quickly. I think some of these guys are just playing it safe, just trying to conserve their tires, and the guys up front are just trying to just get a gap as big as they can.
Yeah, I got the feeling they think they may need it, so they open up a gap now, knowing full well that there will be a caution period, a pace car at some point, and they just want to make sure that their position is solid and safe at the front there. But yeah, I'm just quite surprised that Kai and Stephen Clark have allowed them to actually move away that far. But yeah, look, there's a long way to go, and these guys are aware of that. And of course, Jake Blackhall, who in practice was very frustrated with the combination of car and track, sitting in 5th place and letting Stephen Sandman Clark know that he is there and he's not going anywhere. Edward Foster behind him with Riley Curtis, Edward's teammate, followed by Matthew Clowett in 8th. James Zeiss has settled into 9th, and Jake Maloney in 10th, another name that was prominent at the front of the field in last year's series. Ryan.
Absolutely, yeah. We've got a bunch of big names coming back from that last year truck series, including Jake Blackhall, who we said earlier in the pre-race, 8th position was not where he was looking for, and he's already up in the 5th position. As you were saying earlier, he is catching Sandman by the lap, and this is about to get very feisty very quickly, I believe. I think if we know Jake Blackhall well, I believe that he's going to try to move his way up through this field as fast as he can, as Sandman has made huge ground on Kyle Sloggett as he went very wide, and they're still trying to avoid the inside wall. Either that or he tries to make a move on the outside, coming out of the corner, and he just got loose, and that allowed Jake Blackhall to come in, and this is going to get very feisty.
Yeah, that was almost a case of 2 into 1 doesn't go. But both guys managed to keep the situation under control. But yeah, there's a big fight going on here for third, 4th, and 5th. These 3 guys are in a real battle for that position. While we still have Jason Martin leading from Josh Micklemore. They're battling out 1st and 2nd. And then we've got this second pack with a gap there of Kai Sloggett, Stephen Clark, and Jake Blackhall. And then a slight gap back to Edward Foster, Matt Clowett, and Riley Curtis, James Zeiss, Jake Maloney, That still rounds out your top 10. Beyond that, we've got Thomas Hinds in 11th, and Darren O'Brien, Terry Marwood, Dave Douglas, then Daniel Stevens in 15th, Darren McKenzie behind him, Darren Lloyd, Craig Lawless, Roger Clark still back in 19th, which is a bit of a surprise. Stephen Williams in 20th, and Norman Clark biding his time up the back there, the man dubbed the Magician by Burning.
Yeah, and this little battle pack for 6th is starting to get pretty hot too. Jake Maloney passed the 19 car of James Zeiss earlier, as Thomas Hinds does also, but you can almost put a blanket from 6th down to 9th place. They're all right with each other.
Well, that's it now. Yeah, because Jake's got past Stephen Clark, so Kai has now got Jake Blackhall in his mirrors, and Stephen Clark still keeping an eye and keeping in touch with those two. So on screen there at the moment, that is 3rd, 4th and 5th, as Jake Blackhall makes a move, and he just straight past Kai Sloggett. Stephen Clark saw an opening, but he just couldn't quite get there right.
Yeah, that was a move and a half by Jake Blackhall. Normally you don't make a pass that brave here at Rockingham and get away with it. But that was a really good move, as he really drove it into 1 and 2. Kai Sloggett is trying to get that position back, but I'm not sure that's going to happen, as Jake Blackhall is normally on a mission as soon as he gets past somebody.
Well, I'm just actually wondering about Kai's tyres. I mean, Jake's already taken him so easily, and Stephen Clark seems to be in a much better shape than what Kai is. Perhaps Kai has actually had some really serious wear by holding the two of them off in those first few laps, and now Stephen Clark can maybe see that an opportunity will come shortly, while Kai doesn't have the tyres to actually challenge Jake Blackhall.
Yeah, it seems like the time gained for Jake Blackhall is in 1 and 2, and that's where that right front tire starts to come in, that understeer we talked about earlier. It seems like the line that Jake Blackhall is taking is more of a diamond, which we call in the Oval Series. What you do is you enter the corner really low at the beginning of the corner, you ride up high, and then you try to basically straight line the exit. That kind of conserves the tire a little bit, and it helps out with your straight line. As you see, Jake Blackhall was doing it, and it seems now he's gone to more of a traditional style straight, just holding the bottom of the corner, inside out. So we see it here just a little bit, yeah. So it looks like he's still trying to do that diamond shape where you go down low, you come up high just a little bit, and you just cut straight back down and try to get as much exit speed as you can. As we see, Sandman is right on the back of that Maro that Kyle Sloggett is driving.
Yeah, look, I just watched Kai Sloggett then through a couple of those turns. I'm sure he's actually starting to suffer with grip. He actually seems to be struggling on a couple of these turns. The rear seems to be getting loose. There it goes, and Stephen Clark's seen the opportunity. He's gone around the outside and taken the spot, and that's pushed Kai Sloggett back to, 6th? So we've got, 5th. So we've got, the front hasn't changed, with Jason Martin leading from Josh Micklemore, then a gap back to Jake Blackhall, Stephen Clark, and Kai Sloggett. That is your top 5 at the moment, Ryan.
Absolutely, and Thomas Hinds and Riley Curtis are putting on one of the biggest shows on the track, and we haven't been noticing it. They've gone back and forth the past couple of laps, and Thomas Hinds has a Mustang right up his gearbox right now, and it is unbelievably great to see how good these guys can race with each other, yet not get into the wall. I don't see a broken right front fender yet, and that's normally what you see around this joint about now.
Yeah, look, I normally try and keep an eye on the what's going on mid-pack and beyond, and there's usually some good racing and some challenging there, especially at this stage of the race. But that battle at the front, especially with 3rd, 4th and 5th, has just been so enthralling with those three guys swapping positions that haven't had a chance to keep an eye on these guys. And yeah, Riley certainly making Thomas know that as soon as the chance comes, although Thomas has opened up a slight little gap from him there, as he actually comes up on car 29, which is Jake Maloney, Ryan.
Yeah, and Jake Maloney's kind of kind of just the meat in the box right now. There's two battles happening, one in front of him and one behind him. Yeah, right in front of him. There's Edward Foster and Matthew Cluett. Matthew Cluett is just trying to find an opening right now. He's searching high and low, trying to get a spot as he looks like he's going to try to make this pass stick. He's going to go in there. Oh, no, they touch. That's going to spin Edward Foster. Oh, he saves it. And they're still under green flag conditions. No, he keeps it off the wall. No, he doesn't. He taps the wall, and he's going to spin it. And I think that should probably bring the caution out.
Well,
caution's not out. It's still yellow. Still green.
Yeah, we're still under green. No pace car yet. That's got to be the gentlest NASCAR crash I've ever seen between two vehicles.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong on that one. And speaking of, Jason Martin is flying right now with that not caution that just came out. Jason Martin is lapping people left and right. He's got 4 drivers under lap conditions, and he is still trying to put more. He just lapped Craig Lawless just now. Stephen Williams was also lapped during this lap. So there's about 5 drivers who are now currently under lap conditions, and there's a couple more right in his front grille.
Well, this is where it's going to start to get very interesting. Then we've got Jason Martin coming up across up upon back markers and lapping people at this early stage of the race. This is where I think we're going to start to see a little bit of a difference in the cars and the driving styles. And these guys, they're going flat out. They're going hard. That's Roger Clark in the number 9 car. And the 98 is, of course, Stephen Williams. And they could see Jason Martin in the mirrors as Stephen Williams moves across and makes room. And Jason Martin manages to get through on him and pulls down on the low line to make a move on Roger Clark.
Yeah, Roger Clark's moved up a few positions. He's up in the 16th place. Like we said earlier, he's pretty good at saving his tires and just moving up. And that's what he seemed to do here. He started in 19th, currently in 16th, so he has moved up a few positions as he just got lapped. And Stephen Williams is right on his back bumper. Looked like he kind of backed off. I'm not sure. Yeah, he's trying to race for that position. He just didn't want to go in there and run into the back of Roger Clark there. So they're still fighting back there for the sheep stations.
Oh, yeah, they are. And, I mean, these guys are fighting for survival as well. They've got the leader passing them, and we're on lap 30. So, you know, we've got Josh Micklemore, second place. He's actually sitting in behind car number 015. That's Darren Lord, and he's managed to get past Darren Lord now. And as he heads off after, I believe, Craig Lawless will be the next that Josh Micklemore will come across. So we've got the leaders mixed in amongst these back markers, and they're actually lapping them around here. So, yeah, this is a strange situation. We've got guys being lapped here in this early stage. We've still got 119 laps to go, and we've got guys like Roger Clark being lapped by the leaders already.
Yeah, that's it's pretty typical for some lapping to happen on a long stint like this. Long stint being anything over about 25 laps. These guys will need to come in and get fuel here sooner than later. I'm not sure the fuel numbers, how long they can actually last on a fuel stint, but do be on the lookout for people to start to come in here shortly to try to undercut and try to get that tire advantage. It looks like there's about almost a 2-second drop off from qualifying to their race pace at their current stage of the tire. So I think we'll start to see people go into the pits now. But to make things a little bit more interesting, there's actually a second race that's going on between the lap cars. Because if you're the first car a lap down, you get your lap back. So these guys who are right behind Jason Martin, they want to be in front. They want to be that first car that's next to Jason Martin. That way, as soon as a yellow comes out, if it does come out, because we're 30 laps into this thing, we saw what was probably the slowest wreck that's ever happened. As we watched that, if a yellow does come out, then that guy will be go back on to the lead lap and have another shot at winning this thing.
Oh, look, absolutely. I've still got my eyes on Josh Mickelmore because he's sitting in second, but with the leaders in amongst the rest of the field now, it's getting very interesting. I am very surprised. We're 36 laps in at the Rock at Rockingham in the Xfinity cars. If you've just joined us, we've got Jason Martin leading and Josh Mickelmore in second. 36 laps in. We've been green since go, and these guys will be looking for fuel and tyres very shortly. And at this point, the way everybody is running, I would have to say that people are going to have to start pitting under green, Ryan.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting. I'm not sure if anybody actually practiced green flag stops, so we'll see who did and who didn't. Another thing that's interesting about these lap cars coming in here is it's bringing some of these packs back together. So we see guys like Jake Maloney, who's in 6th place. He's having to fend off the lap down car of Edward Foster, who just got in between him and Thomas Heens. So it's allowing Jake Maloney to actually pull away, very similar to what you see in multi-class with, like if you have a faster car or faster series, run up onto the slower classes, and you'll start to see these guys kind of come together and go apart, come together, go apart, as we watch Jake Blackhall and Stephen Clark, like we were just talking about. These guys, there is a yellow flag. Where did that go?
We've got the pace car out. I'm not sure what's actually happened.
Number 66, Daniel Stevens, has managed to hit the wall. Let's see what happened here. Oh, yeah, he came off turn 2. He hit the wall, and he started to turn right. So as the tires wear down, it is very hard for these tires to keep together. So what happened is he came off, tapped the wall off turn 2. It got him down to the middle of the track. He tried going back up to the top of the track. Car got loose, hit the wall, and spun it around. So
that's unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah. Not what Daniel Stevens wanted to see. He was having a very good run. He was the first car a lap down, so he was going to get that lucky dog, but he actually gave it back up to Matthew Clowett.
Yeah, so that's very unfortunate, and it looks like I've done it again because we were just talking about they'll go pit under green because they've all run so well. Lap 36, lap 37, and all of a sudden we get number 66 into the wall. So right there and then. So that's actually done a lot of people a favour by presenting the pace car in the caution period so that the guys don't actually have to pit under green, which I was interested to see how that was going to work out with some of these guys, actually. And I'll just send a quick good day out to a couple of people in the live chat. Good day to Colin and Vin. How are you, Colin? Thanks. Commentary sounds good, guys. Thanks very much for your comments. Love the feedback. We've got Ryan Shelton and Bernie Weemers also in here with myself, Steve Hoppett. And we are 41 laps in with our first pace car period at Rockingham in the Xfinity cars for the ANZCAR Thursday Night Thunder.
As we see the pit road battle, Jason Martin, he had a huge lead coming in because there's a bunch of cars in between him and the rest of the field. But they tend to come off basically how they came in. Riley Curtis made up a huge bunch of spots. He'll start up in the 5th position if the lead lap or the lap down cars do pit. He made up a bunch of positions. Him and James Zeitz will get a couple of positions. It looks like Thomas Heens is going to be the biggest loser out of the lead lap cars. So he will drop back. I'm not sure exactly where he's going to drop back, but we'll see now the lap down cars. They will pit under the 2nd lap of the pace car laps. Thomas Heens, he was in 7th. He is currently in 10th, so he lost out on 4 positions there, where everybody else kind of gained those spots, and Riley Curtis was the biggest winner out of that, and he gained 3 spots.
Yeah, it's a shame about Kai Sloggett because he's been so heavily involved in that battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th with Jake Blackhall and Stephen Clark, that he's now finding himself back in about 14th position. So, yeah, a bit of a shame. He featured so heavily in the battle early on, but it's a long way to go still. I mean, we're lap 42, just clicking over 43, and we will go. The guys start to line up in double file now behind the pace car, and we'll go green again in a minute, Ryan.
Yeah, and it looked like the issue for Kai Sloggett is that he missed his box. Looks like that's exactly what happened. He missed his box completely. He went too far forward, and then he came back, and then he was too far back, so he eventually found the box, and that's what's going to put him back. So be on the lookout for Kai Sloggett. He's going to have a good... He's going to be the one to watch.
Well, with fresh tyres, fuel, the car's freshened up. I'm pretty sure he's not carrying any damage, so that should be a rocket ship. And if he can duplicate the pace that he had early on, he will find his way through the field very, very shortly, as Jason Martin will lead them away from Josh Mickelmore, Jake Blackhall, Stephen Clark and Riley Curtis.
Yeah, Jason Martin got that huge restart like he did earlier in the race, going right off the green. And we'll look back. Oh, Darren O'Brien just got into the wall. So the 08 of Darren McKenzie is going to try to find his way back into the top 10. This is a first for him. He did not qualify. He started in 21st position. He's up into 7th position. Look who has moved his way up through the field. Thomas Heens is going to try to make do also on Darren O'Brien's mistake of hitting that turn 2 wall, and he's going to try to see if he can't move back up into that 8th position, make up some of those spots that he lost on pit road.
Yeah, number 29, of course, is Jake Maloney, who's sitting currently in 5th place now. He's gotten past Riley Curtis, and he's got his eyes on Stephen the Sandman Clark in car 96. And Jake Maloney will progress through this field. He's very, very good. Well, then again, so Stephen Clark. But, yeah, he looks hungry, Jake Maloney in car 29. And I've got a feeling he'll try and put a move on Stephen Clark very shortly and take that 4th spot.
Yeah, and Jake Maloney's kind of going with the throwback scheme with that old Kyle Petty scheme that we saw in the Days of Thunder movie. So we'll see if he can't pull a little bit of Days of Thunder at this track and just kind of drive through the smoke and floor it down, as he's got Sandman right in front of him for that 4th position. And it looks like he's trying to go through the smoke right now as he goes below Sandman. Sandman just went just a little high, and he's just going to give him the spot. He doesn't want to fight. He knows it's early in the race, still early. We still have 103 laps left in this, 102 as they cross the line, laps left in this race. So there's still a long time to go in this race.
Well, that's it. There's a long way to go, but that is the move I expected. He just managed to catch Stephen Clark at just the right moment, where Jake Maloney was just managing to carry a lot more speed through the turn, and he got the advantage by moving down low on him there. So that puts Jake Maloney up into 4th position, Stephen Clark in 5th. We've still got Jason Martin leading, Josh Mickelmore and Jake Blackhall in 3rd. Riley Curtis up to 6th, with Darren McKenzie, Darren O'Brien, Thomas Hins and Terry Marwood rounding out the top 10 for you.
Yeah, and it looks like Jake Blackhall is trying to find a way past Josh Mickelmore here for the 2nd position. Jake Blackhall, like we spoke earlier, he was not happy with that qualifying run. He started in the 8th position, and now he's looking to take away the 2nd position. Also, another guy we were talking about earlier, Kyle Sloggett, he's just not had the race. He's just not, he was up into 2nd position. He got passed by 2 drivers. Now he's back into 12th position. He just made it past James Zeitz, not making the positions like I thought he would be. I thought he would be moving faster through the field. Thought he would be able to pick off some of these guys but it just shows you the talent throughout this field. Kai Sloggett was running in 3rd position, and now he's back in the 12th, and he just cannot get past these guys. Even the damaged car of Matthew Cloet, who we saw get in the earlier incident with Edward Foster, and Kyle Sloggett's just having a little bit of issues. He might be just laying back just a little bit, but I do think we will see him at the front sooner than later as he touches the wall of turn 2. That turn 2 wall is going to have a few little Darlington stripes itself.
Yeah,
Terry
that way. Yes, so we've got Kai Sloggett really seems to be struggling to present the pace that he had earlier on. These guys giving him a little bit of trouble. It's not as easy to get past them as he may have thought it was going to be. And he's got Thomas Hens, who's coming on fast behind him in the number 19 car, which is actually puts in well, he's actually in 13th position. Yeah, Kai Sloggett 12th with Matthew Cloet ahead of him. Who's actually now been passed. He's got past Terry Marwood in the number 12 car in 11th place, putting Matthew Cloet in 10th. And up the front, still Jason and Josh going at it with Jake Maloney running them down.
Yeah, they seem to be kind of line astern at the moment as Jake Maloney passed Jake Blackhall. We missed that one. I'm not sure when and where it happened. Let me see if I can't backtrack. Looks like he kind of just gave it to him as Jake Maloney caught him on lap 55, and Jake Blackhall just kind of let him go. So I guess Jake Blackhall is just kind of letting the race come to him.
Yeah, I hadn't even noticed that, but yeah, Jake Maloney's taken Jake Blackhall for 3rd place. So we'll see how they go. They may settle into a bit of a groove here for a while. We're on lap 57. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting from this point on. We've still got positional changes happening thick and fast up the front. Don't even notice them. They're happening so quickly. Good day to Mr. Gibbs. Yes, okay. I'm sorry, mate. I left you out before. And Havoc is in the live chat for the stream. That is actually Shannon, who's one of the runners in the Monday, Tuesday night series for the trucks and the K&Ns. But this is Rockingham with the Xfinity cars. ANZCAR on RRTV with Jason Martin leading, Josh Mickelmore 2nd, Jake Maloney up into 3rd, Jake Blackhall 4th, and Stephen Clark rounding out the top 5, and Riley Curtis all the way up to 6th position. And he's challenging for a top 5 spot with a long way to go.
Yeah, and what you're seeing currently with the front guys, there's so you have 2 drivers, Stephen Williams and Edward Foster. They try to get their lap back by staying out and during that last caution, and it hasn't really bit them in the butt. But what they try to do is they try to get out, try to get this caution so they can get their lead back or their lap back that way. It hasn't really helped out, but what it will do is for Stephen Williams, if he does go a lap down, he's got about a 10-second gap that Jason Martin has to make up to Dave Douglas, who is no slouch at all. If he gets up to Dave Douglas, then Stephen Williams will have an issue with getting his lap back. But if not, he'll get the lucky dog, and he'll have a chance at getting his lap back, or he'll have a chance to get some fresh tires, rubber, and be on the lead lap. And that is a strategy you'll see a lot in races that have long green flags, like you'll see here tonight, as Stephen Williams just kind of lets Jason Martin go as he understands the lucky dog rule.
Yeah, I think the long green period that we had for the first 36, 37 laps, it's really juggled the field up. We've seen 2 races in one here because guys like Edward Foster and, James Seitz, Terry Marwood, Thomas Hens, Darren McKenzie, these guys, even like the second half of the field, Roger Clark and Edward Foster, down a lap or 2. So they're running their own race in this. Edward Foster was sitting in behind Jake Blackhall a minute ago, splitting Jake and Stephen Clark. although he was actually out of position as far as laps because he was a lap down on those two. So, but Stephen Clark's gotten past Edward now, and Edward's actually got Roger Clark to contend with back in 16th and 17th, with Craig Lawless in 18th. These are names that we're just not used to seeing a lap or two down when we're not even at the halfway mark of the race yet, Ryan.
Yeah, and so you'll see the tire drop-off is massive right now. Edward Foster, he's got a 26.7 as his last lap. That is also him giving positions back left and right, so it is a little bit slower, but Jason Martin's last lap was a 25.2, so at a second and a half faster. It's only taken Jason Martin about 10 laps to gain half track on Edward Foster. So if Edward Foster doesn't get moving, Roger Clark, who is really just right behind him, not too far, he's 2 cars behind him, which is probably about a second or so. He's only about a second or so, and then Edward Foster's going to start getting passed by Roger Clark, who is on fresh tires. So, well, that's going to be another race to be watching in and of itself. Jake Maloney just got close to that turn 2 wall as we move back to this battle for third place, which is still lively. This 3rd, 4th, 5th, as Sandman just gets a little bit loose. Jake Maloney has made a huge bunch of spots from 11th, 3rd, and they're all trying to see if they can't somehow catch Jason Martin, who is leading this race by a lot.
Well, that's it. I mean, these guys are all on the lead lap. They're all running very quickly. But yeah, Jake Maloney, he's just powering through the field up to 3rd place. And he's got his eyes on Josh Micklemore, obviously. A very slight gap there, but there's an even bigger gap between Josh Micklemore in 2nd and Jason Martin, in 1st place. There's a very noticeable gap from 1st to 2nd, and then a small gap from 2nd to 3rd, and then you've got 3rd, 4th and 5th all very close together. So some very interesting racing, but there's some good racing going on right through the field, even down mid-pack and towards the back. You've got guys, Roger Clark has got beyond Edward Foster, and Craig Lawless has gotten past Edward as well. So whether Edward's struggling with a problem with that car, I'm not sure, but he's certainly not showing the pace that we're used to seeing.
Yeah, and it's really started to heat up now that the tires are starting to wear out, especially also in the midfield. If we look at Riley Curtis, him and Darren McKenzie started to go as Darren McKenzie tries to make a move. It's not going to. Riley Curtis is just going to close the door on him, and they are running really close for this 6th position as they're wanting to close up. And Darren McKenzie, Riley Curtis is trying to do this diamond that we were talking about earlier with Drake Blackhall, and Darren McKenzie's trying to take it away from him. And Riley Curtis, I think this is going to be an issue sooner than later if they don't start to figure themselves out.
Well, that's it. I mean, Darren McKenzie is looking for any way past Riley Curtis, and behind him, of course, is Thomas Hens in the 52 car, and he's just looking to capitalise on whatever's about to happen between those two. I think Thomas has actually positioned himself that if those two come together, being Riley Curtis and Darren McKenzie, that Thomas can capitalise as long as he can actually get out of the way if they do come together. But there he goes again, Darren McKenzie almost making a move. He's taken the low line. You may very well see him pass Riley here. Oh, no, Riley's to put the foot down, and he's created another gap. And here comes Darren McKenzie again. So as they go through the turns, the cars seem to bungee cord further apart and back together again. It's making for some very exciting race.
Darren McKenzie tries to block him, and it doesn't work. He drove Thomas Hens down onto the apron. That's never going to work in these cars, as it brings Darren O'Brien back into this mix too, and it leaves Riley Curtis on a huge lead across these guys.
Yeah, that's opened up a gap now. Riley will feel a little bit more comfortable. He'll breathe a bit easier because now Darren can't worry about Riley now. He's got to worry about Thomas. and he's got to worry about Darren O'Brien, I think it is, who's sitting in behind Thomas, and Matthew Clowett sitting in 10th place at the moment. He's actually closing in on that pack of 3 that we were just talking about then, Ryan.
Yeah, Matthew Clowett has shown some speed in that damaged 54 NOS Camry. He's got some speed in that. I don't think that damage actually caused anything. I think it looks a little bit more damaged than what it actually is. So it's a good sign for him. And there's a car in the wall, 52. Thomas Haynes is in the wall, and he is down onto the apron, and there is still no caution. Did not spin on the racing surface, and that car is destroyed currently. I think he's going to try to create a caution here, though. And he's not going to get it.
Yeah, no, he's not going to get the caution. He's going to pit that car, is he, or is he going to rejoin? A little bit hard to tell. I think he's allowing the traffic to go through, but yeah, there's noticeable damage on that car now, and that's going to affect his chances. And he's dropped right back to 14th spot now, Ryan.
Yeah, going on board with him. It's just, yeah, he's just going to go ahead and pit it. It looks like the car's got way too much damage for him to continue on currently. So we'll see him.
There's a lot of aero damage on that vehicle, so he won't be competitive with the cars that he was actually running with a moment ago anyway. So he looks like he's going to pit it, see if he can fix the damage. He'll give fresh tyres and a load of fuel, come back out and try and make the most of this green flag pit.
Yeah, and it's going to be a long haul for him to get back. Now, granted, what is going to play into his favor is that he will have brand new tires. He will have brand new tires, so that's going to give him about a second and a half to 2 second advantage. But he's spent so much time wrecking, getting back to the pit, that he's going to lose a lot of time doing this. It's going to be a lot more time than he probably should have lost, to be quite honest. As we see back on track, position 4th has been taken by Sandman. Sandman has finally taken that 4th position back from him.
Yeah, my scoring still hasn't updated, but I can see on track Stephen Clark has passed Jake Blackhall and taken 4th position. Good day to Wee Han in the chat. He's somebody who's been in the RRTV commentary position as well as on track in an ANZCAR race. Good day to you, Wee Han. Riley Curtis still comfortably sitting there in 6th, biding his time, and he seems to be running a fairly good and consistent race, which is what was mentioned before. The consistency will be what these guys need to finish at the pointy end. But we're only on lap 83, so we're still looking at what are we looking at, about 77 laps to go? 67 laps to go. So it's still quite a way to go at a track like this, and we're getting long green periods, no pace cars. And I can see, I'll say it again, I can see a green pit for most of the field here shortly, unless we can get a pace car, but it would be very interesting to see how that affects and juggles the field up, Rob.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting, especially with these drivers. Oh, there's a spinner. There's the yellow flag, and that is going to be Norman Clark. He came off turn 2, and his race might be over with that blown motor. As I was just about to say, these guys are starting... Oh, there's actually a big wreck in front of them happening. Looked like number 12 of Terry Marwood was going through the corner, and he did not want to hit the wall, so he just stopped basically and gave Roger Clark nowhere to go, and that's going to be the end of Roger Clark's day. Terry Marwood might have issues with his car too. He got rear-ended very badly.
Yeah, no, it's not looking pretty. The number 3 car of Norman Clark, not looking pretty at all. Roger Clark still seems to be out on track there at the moment, but Norman, Roger's father, he's straight to the pits. A lot of smoke coming out of that car. So, we're going to see how things work out with that. That's very heavy damage.
Absolutely. And we see the guys coming down pit road, and this might be one of the more interesting pit strategies. We might see somebody try to do 2 tires just to see if it works. As we see everybody roll down into their pits, we'll check and see who gets the biggest gap to lead out of here. Looks like everybody's taking 4 tires so far, as we don't see anybody moving just yet.
Well,
Matthew Clowett moves into his spot to fix his car. And Josh Miclemore almost beat out Jason Martin coming off the pits. Stephen Clark gained a position on pit road. So did Jake Blackhall, and so did Riley Curtis. Jake Maloney's the biggest one out of here. He's went from 3rd. Now he's sitting in 6th position.
Yeah, that'll hurt. Jake won't be happy with that. So if there's nothing we've learned out of tonight, it really is that when we're running green and we want a caution period, just have me say that we're going to pit under green and we'll get a caution period, because it's happened twice so far.
Yeah, that seems to be the commentator's curse, isn't it?
Well, yeah, at least I'm not cursing a particular driver. It's
it's just whoever plays it. Yeah, just whoever's still running around this joint. Speaking of still running around this joint, we currently only have one disconnect, which was Thomas Haynes. I believe his car was just a little too damaged for him to continue, so he is the only one who will DNF tonight. The rest of the drivers, we still have 20 cars on track. We'll start from the top, which currently has Jason Martin, who has led every single lap of this race. Nobody has led a lap other than him. Josh Miclemore in 2nd, Stephen Clark in 3rd, Jake Blackhall 4th, Riley Curtis 5th, Jake Maloney 6th. Darren McKenzie will start in the 7th position on this restart. Matthew Clowett will be 8th. Darren O'Brien is 9th position. Kai Sloggett has finally moved up a few positions. He will be in the 10th position. And we'll have Dave Douglas in 11th, James Zeitz in 12th, Roger Clark in 13th, Terry Marwood in 14th position. We will see that might change due to him trying to fix his car. And all the lap down cars include Terry Marwood, Roger Clark, Stephen Williams, Daniel Stevens, Craig Lawless, Darren Lord, Edward Foster, and Norman Clark. Like we said, Thomas Haynes is out of the race in 21st position as they double file to go back green again. We've had green flag for most of this race. We've had 2 cautions, both for incidents off the turn 2 wall. So we'll see if Jason Martin can run away from Josh Miclemore as he has all night.
Josh is pretty good on the restarts. So's Jason. So this is going to be a very interesting battle when that pace car pulls off the track. And don't forget, you got Sandman Clark and Jake Blackhall right behind them, right?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting on this one. I think guys are going to start to turn up the boost as Jason Martin just gets away again. I think the intensity level is going to be a little bit higher now they know there's less than 60 laps. They do not have to pit for the rest of the lap, or for the rest of the race. I do not believe they do have to pit, so I think these guys are just going to go at it. Some of these guys might be saving tires just in case it goes green for the whole rest of the race.
Well, they may go close, but with around 61 laps to go, I'm not sure how that we're going to go with that. Depends how the battles go. I've got a feeling the tyres are going to really going to suffer because you've got Jason taking command at the lead from Josh Miclemore, but it's from 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. There's a big battle ensuing there with those cars fairly close together.
Yeah, that's Stephen Clark, Jake Blackhall, and Jake Maloney. They are just right next to each other, as we would see on a restart. But they've been bumper to nose between this entire race. This entire race, they have not ran away from each other. Not one car has dominated in that group. They've all just kind of hung out in that battle for 3rd position, the bottom step of the podium. They've all just been right in there, and it's going to get really crazy, especially the further it gets on through this race. Another little thing is this TTR ERT battle also, so ERA battle, my bad. We will see through them two within the Sandman and Jake Blackhall. So that should get really interesting, and we'll see if Jason or Josh Miclemore has that long speed or that long distance speed to maybe catch Jason towards back into this race.
And whatever strategy it is that Riley Curtis is using seems to be working. He's still sitting back there in 6th place. Bit of a gap back from Jake Maloney in 5th to Riley in 6th. But Riley's just been consistently plugging away at this race all night. And he's got himself into a position where, with 60 laps to go, he could very easily challenge for a podium position in the closing stages. He's just got a couple of guys on his tail at the moment. Again, Darren McKenzie, I think it is, in the 08 car, yes. And then Matt Clowitt behind Darren in 8th spot. And then you've got Darren O'Brien in 9th. And Kai Sloggett is up to 10th. So he's back in the top 10.
Yeah, he's moved his way up. Darren McKenzie is currently our biggest mover. He started in dead last position. He is up to 7th position. And he's actually trying to make another move on Riley Curtis. And he's going below it. He's gone below, and he will complete the pass, and that's going to bring along Matthew Clowitt in that Camry, and that car still is plugging away after that earlier incident with Edward Foster. He's just right there, and he will pass Riley Curtis also. So the commentator curse strikes again, as you called. Riley Curtis just moving away, and now he's getting position plucked on him.
Yeah, I've got a feeling there's going to be a petition from the drivers that I'll be permanently banned from the commentary box or something. It's every single time I give somebody a rap, this happens. But Riley's there, he's hanging in there, and he'll stick on the back of Matt Clowitt's 54 car. As we get, who was that, number 11, bouncing off the wall there from MFR, sitting behind Riley. That washed off a bit of speed there, Ryan.
Yeah, Kyle Sloggett, he has had some issues. As soon as he got back in that traffic, it seems to me like he's driving very similar to the way Scott McLaughlin drove. And there he is into the wall, huge into the wall. That's gonna ruin that right front fender, which is gonna take off some of that downforce.
Absolutely.
As we saw there, the car's just getting loose. He's not going to have a happy rest of the race until he gets that car fixed.
I got a feeling that's hurt his aerodynamics a little bit too much. He's going to struggle to actually maintain any sort of speed. And he's into the wall. Yeah, that's twice in 2 laps. And yeah, it's going to hurt him because the damage to the right-hand side of that vehicle is going to slow him down immensely.
Yeah, these cars are so aerodynamically advanced. They may not look the part, but if you ever take a look at a stock car, especially from the top-down view, you see that these cars are twisted in a way that is unbelievable. As we just passed the 100-lap mark, so we just have 50 to go in this race, or 2/3 of the way through. But these cars are just they're so twisted in such a way that they're perfectly aerodynamically built to go left, and that's all they need to do. They even run these bodies at road courses, so at road courses they do look a little funny. And it looks like there might be a huge crash going down the backstretch. Daniel Stevens, he went really high, and it looks like they actually kind of saved it all. But Daniel Stevens looks to have the same issues that Kai Sloggett had. He's just not having a fun day out there either.
Back towards the front pack there at the moment, Jake Maloney is looking for any way past Jake Blackhall. Stephen Clark's got his eyes on the rear view mirror because at the moment we've still got Jason Martin comfortably leading this with Josh Micklemore in second, and he's got Stephen Clark in his mirrors. Behind Stephen Clark is Jake Blackhall, who's trying to fend off a charging Jake Maloney in 5th position. So Jake's looking for any opportunity to get past, and he's trying to make opportunities. And a couple of times it's looked like he was going to come side by side with Jake Blackhall, but it just hasn't happened. And that bungee cord's still working for those cars, basically from 2nd all the way back to 5th now. Jason Martin he's just comfortable out the front. He's got a good 5 or 6 car lead over Josh Micklemore. So really still heating up at the front. There's a hell of a battle going on there, Brian.
Yeah, it's starting to heat up. They know that there's not very much left in this race, and there's not much left of this track either. These guys you'll start to see here in about 10 or so laps, the rear end's going to start kicking around, the front end's going to want to keep drifting up. They're going to start going a little bit slower. When they start going slower, it starts getting slipperier too, because that, as we were talking about those aerodynamics, that aerodynamics pushes that car into track, makes the car easier to drive. The only thing I've noticed with this last stint, Josh Miclemore is not running away from the second pack. That's what we've seen all night. We've had Jason Martin, Josh Miclemore, and then the 3 guys that are behind him. Right now, we're seeing Sandman try to make a position up. He's trying to get to that second position.
It looks a lot like Stephen Clark in the 96 car. Sandman, he seems to have pace to spare at the moment, and Josh Miclemore is struggling.
He's going for it. He's going for it. He's going to try to go for the inside pass, and will he complete it? That's going to be the issue. Turn 4 is going to be the place where you want to pass, because you do have that extra little bit that you can drive off of it and make that inside pass work. He hasn't cleared them yet, so it's going to be coming down to 2 and 3, or turns 1 and 2, and he just got Miclemore just got up higher, and Blackhall might try to capitalize on that exit speed, and he just doesn't, and that's going to put Sandman into second position.
Yep, and Josh Miclemore, he is struggling. It's got to be a tyre issue, because Sandman has opened up a bit of a gap there, and he's falling into the clutches now. Josh Miclemore is falling into the clutches of Matt Clowett, I believe that is. Jake Blackhall in the 97 car. Similar paint scheme. Sorry, I forgot where I was on the track for a minute. With Jake Maloney right behind him. So Jake's still trying to find a way past the 97 car of Jake Blackhall, and he's all over the back of Josh Miclemore in the number 2 car. So
yeah, it's starting to get a little confusing with the top 5. 4 of the guys have names that start with J, so it is trying to get hard, trying to figure out who's who. As we see Stephen Clark start to pull away a little bit from Josh Miclemore there in that number 2 car, and I don't think it's so much of an issue with Josh Miclemore. I think it's more that the pack of 3 that were behind him, they've sped up. They've started to understand that this race is about to end, and they've got to get moving. And Sandman has turned up the speed on that car.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I said. I mean, he had speed to burn, and he's used it to position himself very nicely there. Just trying to see what the visual gap is between Jason Martin and Stephen Clark now. Wondering whether Stephen Clark can actually close in on Jason Martin and threaten for the lead.
Yeah, it's about a football pitch and a half, that's for sure. Jason Martin has stretched it out to almost a 3-second lead. He's lapping at about a 10th to a little bit more. We'll see this lap just how much. Yeah, it's 2/10 that lap. So Jason Martin is just putting a clinic out here, very similar to what we saw in the 2016 rendition of the Coke 400 with Martin Truex Jr., where he just led almost the entire race. It's very similar to that. Nobody's going to touch him. It's so long that Jason Martin doesn't make an issue of himself, Stephen Clark has no chance, and the rest of the field doesn't have a chance.
Well, it's pretty similar to what we saw in the 2017 ANZCAR Series races with Jason Martin as well. I mean, there were several times there where he did exactly what he is doing now, and he just dominated a particular race, opened up a gap, and just ran with it. And he was just basically did exactly what he's doing now. Huge gap, comfortable lead. Barring any problems with tyres or anything, I do not see him being challenged for the lead. Stephen Sandman Clark almost fairly comfortable in second here, back to third place for Josh Miclemore, who's still being monstered and harassed by Jake Maloney and Jake Blackhall.
Yeah, if we look further back into the field, the number 27 of Darren O'Brien has about a 6/10 lead over Riley Curtis and then Kyle Sloggett. So they're about a second apart from those 3 drivers. They are very close together. Kyle Sloggett is still having issues with that car, and I think he's going to continue having issues with that car. He just bounced off the wall last lap also. So I think he's just not enjoying it. He's starting to catch Riley Curtis just a little bit. This lap he did catch up by, it looks like he gained about a tenth that lap. So Kai Sloggett is making ground on Riley Curtis. So we might see a pass there sooner than later. Ooh! Kyle Sloggett just moved. It was Darren McKenzie, our biggest mover of the night, might have had some issues. It looks like his internet went out. Darren McKenzie's internet went out. That is no fun. He just joined back into the race, but that is no fun. As we join back up to the front, third position, Josh McLemore is still trying to fend off Jake Blackhall and Jake Maloney. Those guys have just been on fire.
Well, back around 14th and 15th, we've got Daniel Stevens in 15th, who's actually, there's obviously a lap-wise positional situation here, because we've got Daniel Stevens in 15th, Terry Marwood 14th, and Roger Clark in 13th. But physically on track, Daniel Stevens and Roger Clark are battling. And I'm not seeing Terry Marwood anywhere near them, but he's positionally in between them. So that battle's just continuing on. The two teammates from Middle Finger Racing, Daniel Stevens has taken Roger Clark, and that's going to be very interesting to see how that works out. I think there's a couple of laps between them, actually.
Yeah, Stephen Williams does have that lucky dog position, so if a caution comes out within the next 30 laps, we will see Steve Williams get his lap back again. So hopefully we'll see him try to move up a couple of positions, as Josh Mickelmore has made a little bit of a gap on Jake Blackhall, but Jake Blackhall has not made that same gap on Jake Maloney, and he is not letting him run away.
Yeah, it looks like Jake Blackhall's opened up. Josh Mickelmore has opened up. There's too many Joshes and Jakes in this race. Josh Micklemore's actually opened up a comfortable gap there for sure over Jake Blackhall and Jake Maloney. So those two will battle it out for that. With only 27 laps remaining, it's going to be very interesting to see. Barring problems, I don't know whether there's going to be much of a change for the podium. Depending on how things go with the two Jakes chasing down Josh Mickelmore in car number 2, who currently sits in third, and he'd like to be a little bit closer to Stephen Clark to challenge for second place, but that's a fight that he's yet to manage.
Yeah, and with 30 laps to go, I do believe we'll start to see this tire start to degrade, as we're going to move on to Riley Curtis and Kai Sloggett. Kai Sloggett has started to gain those tenths back, as Riley Curtis is trying to find a high line, trying to see if he can't make that high line work. Seems like he's making it work just a little bit, but it looks like he's started to move up high to, again, watch out for those tires. That rear end's going to start coming around as you start coming off 2 and 3, or 1 and 2. So we see Kai Sloggett just into the wall again one more time. But the rear end's going to start coming around as these guys start to put more and more laps on these rear tires.
Yeah.
So we have Jake Maloney just made a pass on Blackhall, and it seems to have gone back. Jake Blackhall might have passed him back, as we see here. Let's see here. Yes, so he has made the pass on Jake Blackhall. So Maloney has put himself into the 4th position. We did miss that just a little bit. Looks like he made the pass down into 1 and 2, and Jake Blackhall gave him the position, as Jake Blackhall just got loose coming off of 2, as we were talking earlier, that their rear tires are starting to fall away. These cars are going to start getting loose. You're going to see the guys start drifting a little bit coming off the corners.
Yeah, and further back, Riley Curtis has gotten back in front of Kai Sloggett, who brushed the wall again. But that pushed him back into the clutches of number 10, Dave Douglas. And Kai Sloggett now, Riley's made a boo-boo and dropped way down too low and lost a heap of speed. I think he must have gotten loose. And Kai and Dave Douglas really making him pay for that now as car 10, Dave Douglas, slips by Riley Curtis, pushing Riley back yet another spot to, positionally back to 10th.
Yep, so on lap 128, coming off turn 4, Riley Curtis just got loose coming off turn 4, and he just did not have the line that he needed to take going into 1 and 2, and that allowed Dave Douglas to get around him also. So now he's trying to fight back into that 8th position he was in. Kai Sloggett has finally moved himself back into 8th position after that horrid first pit stop. That was no good for him. That moved him back to 13th position after running in 3rd place and 4th place and 5th place throughout the night.
As Jake Maloney still powers on in 4th, hunting down Josh Micklemore. I believe it was car 16, just entering the pits there under green. I'm not quite sure who that is, actually. Was it 16? Do we have a 16? It must have been 15, Darren Lord.
Yep, and if we move back up to the 6th position, this battle is starting to heat up. Matthew Clowett and Darren O'Brien. It looks like Darren O'Brien is starting to pull away just a little bit, but just a few laps ago, Matthew Clowett was right on him as that was a huge amount of time. He just gained in 1 corner. Matthew Clowett is right on that bumper, and as you can see, that outside line is tending to work for Darren O'Brien down the straightaway, but the inside works for Matthew Clowett on the inside, so it's all about that. And Kai Sloggett's in the wall. Kai Sloggett's in the wall. He's back onto the infield. He's moved himself in a victory lane, but not the way we'd want him. He have destroyed that car, and he's just rolling through the front speedway here at about 60 k's an hour. His race will be done. It was looking so promising in the beginning of the race, being in 3rd and 4th and running in those top 5 positions. Ever since he got in the back, it just hasn't looked the same for him.
I think his race really, he started to suffer and struggle a bit after that first pace car period, to be honest. I mean, he was prominent at the front until he actually missed his pit and got held up there with a long pit stop. And from that point on, he seemed to struggle. And then, tyres seemed to go off and a couple of hits in the wall. And this is the result, unfortunately.
Yeah, and we're missing all the action right now. Steve Clark got Josh Micklemore tried to pass Steve Clark into turn 1 as we were watching Kai Sloggett, and Steve Clark actually got hit by Josh Micklemore, who was going on the inside. Micklemore just dove in there just a little too hard and gave Sandman a little bit of the side damage. This race has gone off with only 15 to go.
Oh, yeah, look, Stephen Clark, he's struggling there now. We've got slower lapped cars who are really threatening him. That's a lot of damage on the left-hand side of that number 96 car for the Sandman.
Yeah, once you compound that damage with the tire degrade, that car is not going to be very healthy. Him and Josh Micklemore have that damage. Steve Clark is going to have less aero damage with that left side. That left side is less important than the right side, but both of them have tires that have been on the car for over, we pitted on lap 90, so almost 40 laps we have on these tires.
Yeah, I believe lap 90 was when they went green again and the pace car pulled out. So they've been under race conditions for 48 laps. We've only got about 11 and a half to go. It's going to be very interesting. I think that's Edward Foster there, being passed by on the inside by Stephen Clark. And he's got Josh Micklemore, who's also carrying that much damage, as just described by Ryan, on the right-hand side. So it's going to be interesting to see what Josh can do here. Edward will hold it out of the way. He is a lapped vehicle. But, there's some damage to those.
Yeah, we have Darren O'Brien In 6th position again, Matthew Clowett. Those guys were racing it out. It looks like Darren McKenzie has joined back in. He is a couple laps down, but with fresh tires, he's just going to go ahead and move on out. And these guys are going to go back to battling for that 6th position with Darren O'Brien and Matthew Clowett. These guys are less than a tenth apart from each other. And, oh, man, Matthew Clowett dove it in there really hard to try to see if he could make it in there, and it almost cost both of them the race.
Held my breath there for a moment. Ryan with Matt Clowett looking like he was getting just a little bit too close to the back of Darren O'Brien there in the number 27 Oceania car. But yep, it worked itself out fine in the end. But yeah, that was looking very, very dangerous there for a minute.
Yeah, these guys are absolutely going at it. They know there's only 8 laps remaining as soon as Jason Martin gets across that line. There's only 8 laps to go. Jason Martin has shown a heap of pace in that 21 No Fear Mustang. It is unbelievable the pace he has had here today. Nobody has touched him. Nobody else has led a lap other than him, and he is on fire. He currently has over a 7-second lead on Stephen Clark.
Yeah, that gap's just growing all the time, isn't it? But he's got the advantage. He's in the groove. He's got a great run going, and there's not a mark on the car. So his aerodynamics, everything is just perfect at the moment, and he's got a good line going, which is helping with his tyre wear.
Yeah, and it's right now it looks to be a bit spread out with all the incidents we've had left, right, and center currently. And right now it looks to be kind of line astern as Josh Micklemore is trying to make up that second he had lost when he earlier got into him, as Josh Micklemore just tapped the wall. That right side is not loving him.
And with every lap they go around and every corner they go through, Jake Maloney just gets that little bit closer each time to Josh Micklemore. So he's still fighting hard. There's a big battle there as both cars go past Stephen Williams in the number 98 Chevy.
Yeah, it's looking like the battle might heat up here really quickly. There's only 6 laps remaining in this race, 5.5 laps to go for these guys, battling out for second, third, and fourth, as that bottom step has not been decided just yet. Josh Micklemore and Jake Maloney are going to battle it out to the end. This is about to get really, really, really frantic here, as it looks like, back in the back we have what looks to be a slow car in the 53 of Edward Foster. It looks like he tried to get down below the field just to let everybody go, and he just got a little loose and almost caused a caution. But back up here in the 3rd position, there is 4 laps remaining in this race, and these guys have got everything out of these cars. There is nothing left in these cars. They've been riding around for 55 laps on the same tires on the old bumpy surface, a track that's not meant to be driven on for this long with these tires. These cars are not driving like they should. Micklemore has right side aero damage, and Jake Maloney's car is perfect, but Jake Maloney has a car in front of him. That's the issue. He's got to get around him, got to get around Micklemore to get that 3rd position.
Well, he's got 2 laps to do it, and he's going to have another crack as he moves. Oh, yes, okay. The camera angle lied. He looked like he was a lot closer than he was.
Yeah, Maloney is going at it. He's going to leave everything out there on the track. Nothing's going to be left on that table. Nothing's going to be left of these tires either. Micklemore just shows a little bit of that inside, and Maloney tries to take it, but he just won't. These cars are hard to drive in a straight line currently, as you see Micklemore just moving around, and Maloney is getting very close. He will have 1.5 laps left to try to make it. He's getting a little loose out there coming off turn 4. 1 lap to go for these guys. Jason Martin has solidified himself in the 1st position. He just has not to wreck. So has Stephen Clark, who is just in front of these guys, but these guys haven't figured out who's going to finish in 3rd yet. Maloney has 1 more corner to go. See if he can make it. He throws it down the inside. Just 1 last gasp, and he will not get it. We still have 1 more to corner. You still have to exit turn 4. Ew. and he won't get it. Josh Micklemore will finish in the 3rd position. Jason Martin wins the race in stunning fashion. And what a race that was, as we'll run through the finishing order here shortly. Man, what a race that was, Steve.
Fantastic stuff, Ryan. What an exciting finish to that one. Jake Maloney throwing absolutely everything at Josh Micklemore. And Jason Martin led every single lap of the race. Incredible stuff. Stephen Clark managed to bring it home 2nd, even with that bit of damage on it. And just fantastic racing.
Oh, we missed the best race on the track, too. Matthew Clowett, Riley Curtis, and James Zeitz. Those guys were going at it. We didn't realize until just now. All 3 of those cars finished within a 1/10 of each other, and Matthew Clowett beat up James Zeitz just by 1/1000th of a second. We missed that one. That was for sure. And just to kind of give you a little bit of a radio commentary on what happened, Matthew Clowett was behind Dave Douglas. Dave Douglas slowed down, allowing Riley Curtis to catch back up to him in turn 3. Riley Curtis goes on the inside, misses him, tags Matthew Clowett just a little bit, and that gives James Zeitz just enough to get on the outside, and he almost passes him. There was less than a damaged car width between them. It was literally less than a centimeter between the 54 of Matthew Clowett and the 19 of James Zeitz. That was such a good finish, and we missed it. But we had so many good finishes around the track that I think it's okay that we missed it.
Look, all the way through the field. I mean, we had cars that were so many laps down, but the constant racing all the way through the field. Everybody just went hammer and tong, fighting for position to anybody that was around them that was on the same lap. Incredible stuff.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the better races I've seen here on iRacing. It was very, very clean for a Rockingham race, and it was extremely good for a race just in general. It was great watch. It was a great time to be in the booth.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
That was a good one.
And just so that people know, yes, I have been watching the live chat, but I'm ignoring it.
So, it looks like we're going to start with some of these interviews here. I do believe we're going to bring in the winner of the race first, Jason Martin, so we'll let him get out of his car and get into victory lane as we see Jason Martin dominated this race from start to finish, green to checkered. He never moved out of that first position. Jason Martin, how you doing?
Real good now, mate. Absolutely wrapped with that race. Couldn't have gone any better.
Now, we noticed you started out first, you finished first, you ran the whole race in first. You didn't really pass anybody other than some lap cars, so how was it for you?
Yeah, it got pretty tricky once the track heated up. I was getting as low as possible in the turns to try and find a little bit of grip. There just wasn't much there.
Yeah, we noticed as soon as you started to get about 20 to 30 laps on the tires, it started to get really loose coming out of the corners. Did you notice any understeer also?
Yeah, a little bit, but if you just took it a bit slower on entry, you could get around it and it wasn't a problem.
Yeah, man. So it was a great watch overall. So just overall, just how did the race go for you? Did you have any problems anywhere?
No, it was a pretty comfortable race, really. Hopefully it was more entertaining behind me.
Yeah, no, it was a fantastic drive, Jason. Like, incredible stuff. You just seemed to just be smooth and consistent, and the comment was made before the race that it was going to be consistency that actually put people at the pointy end, and you just, consistent was just the way you drove all night long. So fantastic stuff. There was a fair bit of action and a lot of positional swapping behind you. The second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, they changed all night long. There were long periods there where you had Josh Micklemore in the first half of the race behind you. but then he sort of fell back into the clutches of a couple of the other guys as he had some tyre issues. But look, beautiful drive, and you opened up a nice gap there and made yourself comfortable at the front. So congratulations and fantastic stuff. Anybody you want to give a shout out to, sponsors you want to thank?
No, mate, no sponsors, so just got to thank RRTV for broadcasting the series and ANZCAR for putting it on.
No worries at all. Thanks very much, Jason. And even with the consistency and the way you dominated tonight, it was entertaining stuff to watch, because it was a thrill a minute just seeing that you were constantly there and watching the positional change behind you and the way the guys were trying to catch up. So an excellent drive, well done, and congratulations on first place, Jason Martin.
Thanks, mate.
That was our winner, Jason Martin. Next up, we're going to have second place position, Sandman Stephen Clark. He drove one of the best races we have seen so far. He started in the 5th position, finishing first. Sandman, how'd the race go?
G'day, boys. Yeah, it was pretty good. I really enjoyed that. And hats off to everyone involved, because, the way and the nature of this racetrack and how bumpy she is, I was kind of thinking it might have been a bit of a caution fest. But, man, we saw some great racing out there, and I was really, really enjoying the battles up the front that I had.
Yeah, we noticed at the beginning of the race, you're further more in the backside of that group of 4 guys that were all just battling. Y'all couldn't get separated until the last 10 laps. But we did notice that you started to move up there late in the race. Talk about that incident with Josh Micklemore just real quick. What we didn't catch it on stream, but we kind of watched back later on. But what happened between y'all two?
Look, that was just good hard racing. Josh and I had sort of a bit of a laugh about it, I guess, at the end of it, because he was just having a red hot go, and we were at the point where our tyres were absolutely shot, because we'd had a pretty long green flag run there. And look, Josh tried to make a move up to the inside. I knew he was there, and I was going to give him the space going into the turn, because I was going to have a hard enough battle to fight him on the outside on those tyres that I had anyway. But just as he got into the turn, he just pushed straight up into me, and I actually congratulated him, because it was a heck of a slide there that he had. So he managed to hold it and keep it together, which was good. So it didn't ruin his race altogether, but it did a fair bit of damage to my car. I was understeering pretty bad from there on in. So, but that was just good hard racing. There's no hard feelings there between Josh and I. And yeah, look, that's NASCAR racing.
Yeah, no, fantastic stuff. I think Ryan was waiting for me to come in there. Look, fantastic. Congratulations, mate. It was a lovely drive at the end. It looked to me like you knew what you wanted to do, and you just bided your time and waited for the opportunity. Then it was just a matter of holding position. But then the two of you came together. We were a little bit concerned about that damage to the left-hand side, but you were close enough to the end of the race where it didn't cause you too much grief. So fantastic stuff, and congratulations on second place. And move on to another track and a completely different situation again next week. I believe we're off to Atlanta.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I think, unfortunately, I'm going to have to miss that round due to work commitments. So I'm going to try and sweet talk the bosses to try and get the night off. But yeah, look, tonight was so much fun, and I knew just how brutal this place was on tyres. So I played the quiet game at the start. I let sort of everyone disappear. I know Jason, Josh, I think Jake, both Jakes, they were sort of pretty keen to race hard at the start, and I was quite content just to sort of let them go. And I wanted to try and play the waiting game, and fortunately for me, that's how it played out. But I was starting to make a charge there towards before that last caution flag, and I think I was a little bit quicker on older tyres, starting to chase down Jake and Josh. But I was revived with that fresh set of tyres. Everyone was killing for those, and made my charge towards the end there. But just great hard racing, and I want to thank everyone at Hybrid Racing Simulations and Trans-Tasman Racing for their support in this series. It's so much fun. We've got a great group of guys, and to go as long as we did with the green flag racing that we did around this racetrack was a true commitment to these guys, and well done to everyone involved.
Yeah, no, it was a long green period at the start there. I think it was lap 36 or 37 when the pace car came out. And the strange part was during the twice we had long green periods, and I actually made the comment that looked like we were going to see everybody pit under green. And within a half a lap there, somebody did something and we got a pace car both times that I said it. So Yeah, didn't actually jinx anybody in particular. It was pretty much the whole field. But look, fantastic drive, mate. There was a lot of excitement there between second right back to sixth and seventh, especially because of the close racing there. So with the positional changes, so great stuff. Fantastic finish for second place, and you're giving your shout outs and everything. So unless there's nothing Ryan wants to bring up with you, yeah, thanks for joining us and. Well done, and hopefully you can arrange to be around next week.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And thanks to you guys for the broadcast and everyone at ANZCAR. It's a great series. Thanks, everyone.
And that was our second place finisher, Stephen Clark Sandman. He had a phenomenal race with our next driver, Josh Micklemore. He started in second, finished third, didn't really go much of anywhere. He stayed at the front all race, Josh Micklemore. Welcome to the post-race interview, and your race was pretty interesting from start to finish. Let's hear about it.
Yeah, it's the first race I've ever done here. Actually, I've only purchased a track during the week, so bit of a hill climb for me. But yeah, it was good fun racing.
So, yeah, talk to us. You said you just bought it this week. Can you compare this track just from the short time that you've had it to any track you've raced so far?
I don't know. It's very bumpy. I've never had a track like this that's bumpy as this. So, no, not really. I don't know. It's got a bit of a feel with sort of Bristol a little bit, but not really. I don't know. It's kind of unique, really, with the bumps and all that sort of thing. But no, it's a good fun track.
Yeah, it's a great track. We've come to love it over here in the States, and now it's kind of rotting away. But one of the biggest questions we wanted to hear about was your tap with Sandman there towards the end of the race. We heard him. He said that you're just having a go at it. Talk to us about it from your viewpoint.
Yeah, we were just racing pretty hard, and had a bit of a run there on the front stretch. And sort of got my nose in there a bit, but yeah, she got a bit too tight on me, so I ended up clipping into the side of him. I went sideways a bit and managed to save it, but there's no hard feelings in it. It's just racing sort of thing. So, but yeah.
So, and also with those long green flag runs you had, the tires, how were they feeling towards the end of the runs?
Yeah, see, the first two runs it weren't too bad, but I don't know, the tyres on that last run, they felt a bit different. I don't know if I went a little bit harder at the start and I was a bit crap at the end there, I'm not sure, but the tyres did feel completely different to the last two runs I've done, but yeah. It's all good. We managed I want to try and finish the top three tonight, and that's what we've sort of done, so finished pretty bad last week at Daytona, so I wanted to get a good position up tonight.
Yeah, Josh, Steve Hoppett, how are you, mate? All right?
Yeah, good yourself?
Not too bad, mate. Got a chance to stretch the legs out now. 150 laps around this place requires a fair bit of concentration, I imagine.
Yeah, it is, especially this bumpy track.
Well, that is. It's an older track, which we spoke about in the commentary box right at the start of the stream and of everything. And yeah, no, it's an old track and it's bumpy, and it was really going to test people out tonight. It bites hard, which became obvious in practice. But you seemed in practice to actually have a fair bit of control over it. Then towards the end of the practice session, you just started to push it, or what? Because you seemed to come off quite a bit towards the end of it, whereas previous to that, you were just testing things, I imagine.
Oh, is that in practice, you mean?
In practice itself, yeah.
I was kind of just drifting and mucking around, to be honest with you. At the end.
Okay. Yeah, because that sort of translated into the race though, because that told you what the track, what it would allow you to do and not do as well. And pulling at third, that's a pretty big deal after the race tonight. As I said to Stephen Clark, positions 2 back to about 6th or 7th was very exciting stuff, and there was a lot of changes there, a lot of good, close, tight racing. So, yeah, well done, and congratulations on third place. Anybody you need to give a shout-out to?
Just Nexus Esports, a team I race for, an American team. Those I just like to thank those boys as we're getting ready for NASCAR iRacing series, starting 4 hours time actually, and Justin Rowden for painting my car. Done a good job for the 2018. So yeah, that's about it.
No worries then. Well, thanks, Josh. An entertaining night. Congratulations on third place. That's a good haul of points, and we move on to Atlanta next week. So another different track with a different situation, and racing will be completely different again for the third week in a row after the Super Speedway at Daytona and then the Rock, and then we move on to Atlanta, which is I think it's a mile and a half or something.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that track. I like it a lot. So
yeah, no, it's a nice track, and yeah, I think two of the series actually go there, so it'll be interesting to see these cars going around Atlanta next Thursday night in the Thursday Night Thunder. So thanks for joining us, Josh. Congratulations. We look forward to seeing you in action again next week. So we'll head back to Ryan and Bernie and see what they want to do now.
all right, thanks, fellas.
That was your third place finisher, and it looks like what's left of the guys who are going to be interviewed is Jake Maloney, the guy we wanted to hear. We watched those last 10 laps try to run down Josh McLemore. Just couldn't make it happen. Started in 11th position, so it was a great drive from Jake Maloney. Jake, nice to have you in here. How was it?
Yeah, that was good fun. Yeah, probably wasn't expecting that many green flag laps. But yeah, really enjoyable racing. Didn't have much speed in practice or qual, but sort of after that first stint, sort of picked up a bit of tips off some of the other cars and picked up speed, and sort of was running within top 5 with those. The 4, not Jason, obviously, he was leagues ahead of us, but yeah, no, that was good fun racing with them.
Yeah, we saw there towards the end, you managed to get past Jake Blackhall after he made a small error, and you were running down Josh McLemore. Was that just because you had saved your tires earlier in the run, or were you just absolutely going, balls to the wall for the last 50 laps?
I probably saved a bit of tires in the that last run. In the second run, I just went hard to see what my pace was and got up to third, but then started to lose the tires, so I just took it a little bit easier after I lost some positions in the pit stop, and yeah, it seemed to work out okay. Had a better tires than them towards the end, but just didn't have enough time to get past them. But yeah, move on. That was good fun.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting stuff, Jake. Well, you just threw everything you had at Josh, and those last few laps there, like you even sniffed an opening. You just went for it, and very exciting stuff. And congratulations on a 4th place finish from where you started. That was just exciting to watch, honestly.
Thanks. Yeah, yeah, no, it was a lot of fun.
So next week, your opinions on moving to Atlanta. You looking forward to that one?
Yeah, it should be good. I think it's another track that has fairly high tyre wear if it's anything like real life. Haven't done too much racing in Atlanta, but should be fun, especially if we get some long green flag runs, maybe a few green flag pit stops.
It's a little bit more open than the Rock, obviously. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see with the change in that one, going from the 3 completely different tracks that we've got the first 3 rounds. So it should be more exciting stuff from you guys next week, and looking forward to watching that one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, this new series is looking quite good with the drivers we've got.
Yeah, no, fantastic stuff. Did we do shout-outs? Anybody you want to thank?
No, I'll just give a shout-out to the TTL Driver Academy for the driver coaching we've got.
Yep, no worries. That's great. All right. Thanks very much, Jake Maloney. An incredible drive. Fantastic stuff out there tonight. Very exciting to watch. And Ryan, where are we off to now? What are we happening?
It looks like we are going to finish off the stream here. The broadcast was a great one. If Bernie wants to come back in and put his viewpoints on the race itself, he can. But if not, I think we may be done here.
Yeah, I think it was a fantastic race. I was absolutely surprised by the amount of cautions we had tonight. Very impressed with the guys driving, and can't take anything away from Jason Martin. That was a flawless effort on his behalf to lead every single lap of this race. But I guess, guys, we should really go through the full race results before we call it a night, just so we can see where all the drivers finished tonight. So I'll take them through that now. So Jason Martin takes the win. Second, Stephen Clark. Third was Josh Micklemore. Coming home in fourth tonight, Jake Maloney. Jake Blackhall finished in fifth. Darren O'Brien up 8 positions from where he started to come home in sixth. Matt Clowett finishes in seventh. Eighth was James Zeitz. Ninth, Riley Curtis. 10th was Dave Douglas. Roger Clark also up 8 positions from where he started to finish in 11th. 12th tonight, folks, was Daniel Stevens. Home in 13th was Edward Foster, down 9 positions from where he started. Stephen Williams, he came home 14th. 15th was Darren Lord. Terry Marwood in the 12, he comes home in 16th. Craig Lawless in the 444, 17th. Darren McKenzie, well, he went out there after internet troubles, folks, and he came home in 18th. Then our retirement tonight, Kai Sloggett in the 11 was classified 19th. Norman Clark, he was classified 20th, and Thomas Hinds 21st. So that's the race results there, Ryan.
Yeah, that was a great race overall. Highly enjoyed it. Next week is going to be a completely different track. It's going to race similar, but you're going to have a lot more space to run about. Rockingham is very much a single line, run the bottom. You can run the mid line through 3 and 4, live its bottom. Next week at Atlanta, you're going to see these guys moving all over the track. They're going to start low, they're going to end up high, and then further into the race, when these tires start to wear off, you're going to see drivers all over the track. So it should be a fun one. I unfortunately will not be here. I will be at work, just like Sandman. But we're going to have a great race next week if this week was anything like the last one.
Oh, absolutely. I think you've hit the nail right on the head there. This series is only just heating up. I mean, that was fantastic racing on a track that I think a lot of people expected a lot of pace car periods. It was just, especially watching the way the guys did practice, a couple of people even went into the wall in qualifying. So it was expected there'd be a lot of caution periods and a lot of pitting, and it was exactly the opposite. We had, I think, was it two caution periods, and the guys were seriously looking down the barrel of pitting under green conditions. So it was only after we observed that something happened. So fantastic stuff. Great racing, and I hope everybody's enjoyed the broadcast tonight. So back to you, Bernie.
Yeah, fantastic. No, thanks to you, Steve Hoppett, Ryan Shelton. They were your race commentators tonight. And by the looks of the likes and the thumbs up, guys, you've done a fantastic job, and the viewers definitely enjoyed that. But looking at the week ahead on RRTV, folks, tomorrow night we've got the Porsche Carrera Cup coming your way. Once again, they're going to Phillip Island, and then straight after them is the feature race for Friday night, and that's the Australian Online Supercar Championship, also from Phillip Island. Then Saturday night, we've got the RacingLeagues.com GT3 series back to entertain all the GT3 fans out there. But anyway, once again, Ryan and Steve, thanks for doing the commentary tonight. Did a fantastic job.
Yep, thank you. And thank you to the viewers. And thanks to Ryan for making it in tonight. It's really added another dimension to the commentary team.
Well, I'm always happy to do it. It's just a matter of when when I can actually get in here. Work work's a bit all over the place, and between work and my sleep schedule, with it being currently almost 7 o'clock in the morning, so.
Yeah, we realise the time difference is a little bit of a problem.
Yeah, so it's a bit all over the place. So we'll.
I know it's a problem for me wanting to race in American NASCAR races, and I can imagine it's exactly the reverse for you.
Yeah, it's a bit worse. It's a bit worse on my end because like for y'all have to wake up about 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning to race. If I want to race like the supercars, like the V8 Scop series or what have you, I have to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning. And then if I want to watch supercars, it's another 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. sort of thing. So
yeah, I raced in a V8 league, European league, back in 2012. So I know exactly what you're saying. Getting up at stupid hours of the morning. I mean, it's just lucky that I didn't have anybody living with me. I probably would have worn something across the head. Getting up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning to go and race V8 supercars.
Right.
But yeah. It was an experience. But, yeah, look, thanks for making it. It's been fantastic to have you in with us this week. And thank you to everybody in the live chat. Thanks to Bernie for all his efforts. He's don't know whether everybody's aware of it or not, but he's a little bit sore tonight because he's had some dental work done. So he's soldiered on and gotten the job done for us and brought us another great broadcast.
Right on. And with that, I think we will sign off for tonight. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you all next time.